What's happening, everybody? It's Sean, joined again by my son Trey, and today we got another review of the great Tom Waits, his album Real Gone, purchased by friend and longtime supporter John. Thank you, John. Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone who helps this channel go. If you'd like to support us in any way, check out that Patreon link below, or the Patreon link on the end screen. Trey, we've been on a long journey with Mr. Waits. There's a playlist below that you can check out.
Yeah, definitely. Our previous album reviews of Mr. Waits were also for John. We did good old Alice and Blood Money released the same day, right? Which was interesting. And then this album, Dad, released a couple years later. We're taking it to October 2004, almost 20 years ago. How did that happen?
Yeah, that's crazy.
How did that happen? His 16th album right here. It was supported by the Real Gone Tour, playing sold-out locations in North America and Europe. It went to 28 here in the States, Dad. It went to 11 in Canada, 16 in the UK, 27 in Australia, and it was chosen by the editors of Heart Magazine as the best album of 2004.
Yeah, and I don't know who Heart Magazine is, but hardly anyone reviewed this. I just put the chart success there because it shows you that Tom still had chart success in multiple areas of the world, that as like some of the previous albums, all tracks are written by Tom Waits and his wife Kathleen Brennan.
No, definitely. And this is a long record, Dad. We're going in at about 70 minutes or so here.
16 songs, sort of. One of them's not really a song.
So we kick it off, though, with Top of the Hill.
Yeah, and for me, it has some turntables in here. Casey Waits is on this. I'm assuming that's his son, but I could never find anything on Casey Waits. I'm sure somebody out there knows. But the turntables give it this interesting soundscape. He's dying and going to heaven, maybe. I was trying to figure out the lyricism of this thing.
Yeah, man, mentioning the turntables, that is yet again something that stood out to me. They appear on a few of the other tunes on this, Dad. Almost has a bit of that lo-fi trip, 90s trip hop production. I love Tom's delivery right here as well. And yet again, Tom, I think that is always very good at choosing openers to his records.
Yeah,
and we're thrust into the wild world of Waits right here, and I think this sets the tone, if you will, quite well for what this record is going to bring. And then next we go to Hoist That Rag. We have Les Claypool of Primus fame, one of the greatest bassists of all time, and he does kind of fit that outsider mold that I think Waits does.
Yeah, I do too.
And he's on here, and again, it has that gritty, muddy production. Mark Ribot on the guitar. He really impressed me with his solo right here. Have some backing horns as well. A gruff chorus of "Hoist That Rag." Fits almost a pirate-esque type of vibe with the content. This was actually one of my favorites.
Yeah, I thought it was really good as well. I got the same kind of thing on Claypool and brass. Also, I think lyrically, it's some sort of statement on war, because it alludes to these different wars. Now, we're going to get a statement on war a long time later in this album, but I also thought it was good. Now we're going to go to Sins of My Father, a song, Trey, that is almost 11 minutes long, but it doesn't feel like it's referencing Numbers 18, where the sins of the fathers carried
the
on.
book in the Bible.
Right. In the song, the narrator is sentenced to death and is attempting to wash himself clean at the very end of his family's sins, so that God will welcome him in the afterlife. The very last stanza is where he's washing the sins. The rest of it, he's taking them. And Waits said, "I'm talking about my father. I'm talking about your father. I'm talking about his father. The sins of the father will be visited upon the son." Everybody knows that. I thought it was an epic song. I thought, once again, we're talking about Mark Ribot. Now he's going to come in. He's going to do this a couple times this time. He's going to come in with a banjo, which gives it this nice ambiance to it. You wouldn't think a banjo is going to give a nice, ambiance, but we're not going out to the fields on a haystack here, right? He's giving them right, and the guitar with Tom on the guitar with him as well.
Yeah, definitely, Dad. And maybe this isn't one that I'm going to return to outside of an album context a lot, just due to its almost 11-minute long runtime, and yet it didn't overstay its welcome, I don't think either. I love the line in here: "The world's not easy," the blind man said, "turns on nothing but money and dread." Ain't that the truth, man? They get us into a fury of pessimism. And again, for me, Dad, I think as you shouted out, Mark Ribot was a highlight. Booming rhythm section in here as well that deliver the power that those deathly contemplative lyrics deserve. We also have a great line: "Oh, the heart is heaven, but the mind is hell." A lot of kind of a biblical or religious allusions throughout this record.
Throughout the whole record,
Waits is, obviously not shy about going to. And now we're going to go to Shake It right here. I got to be honest, I wasn't feeling the first minute of this track, but then the song switched to a bit of a more frenzied, quicker, fiery tempo, and I was getting behind the craziness there.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the subject of this one. The highlight for me was Claypool's bass work. I don't love this one either. I think you might have ended up liking it a little bit more than me. It just wasn't for me, but I mean, that's all right. There's 16 songs.
No, exactly. But you better not go into that barn now.
You better not go into this barn. Now, this is the research I found. This wasn't me figuring this out, right? It seems to have been based on the New York Times account of a slave in northern Kentucky, just upriver from Minnesota. And so they kind of talk about in this interview that I read in the New York Times. Even now, slowed by a stroke and 70 years past his boyhood, toiling in the fields as a tenant farmer, Isaac Wayne Jr. can still recall the terrible secrets hidden inside the old tobacco barn. He said, "Dad told us never to go in there. He said, boys, I'm going to tell you the truth. It's all right to play around that barn, but don't go inside." He said it just wasn't right, that it was pitiful. He never did tell us why. And so when you kind of understand that and then you hear the song, that's basically what the song is telling you. It's got a fantastic driving percussion. At the very end, it's got them traveling to all these different places. And what the meaning behind that is, that's all the places they traveled downriver to sell slaves.
Yeah, man. Yet again, Wait's not afraid to lean into the dark subjects of our world and America and bring it musically to a life in a way that makes an impression. I thought this was a good tune, especially given the heavy subject matter, right?
Yeah, and I think, speaking of the darkness, pretty good observation there, because I think Waits, Nick Cave, and Leonard Cohen are all very underrated songwriters, and they all can push into the darkness. Most songwriters don't want anything to do with that, especially on this kind of level.
Yeah, I like that. I like that shout right there, Dad. Gotta be real in the world, right? Because how's it gonna end, right? How's it gonna end?
We all wonder.
After the fury of instrumentation right here, Waits takes a step back. We have a bit of I'd say the first slower tempo type song on this record right here, Dad, and really does have a story that drew me in at least quite well.
Yeah, the overarching theme is what we all want to know. How is this going to end? How are we going to die? Very subtle instrumentation, once again, guys, I know this sounds weird, but just trust me, you got to hear it. Subtle banjo, subtle percussion, really well done.
And then after that, man, we hit almost the halfway point of the record. We go to the Metropolitan Glide.
Yeah, now this is where, and there's a few songs here, we just get classic Tom. If he's just firing off stuff that's just rando stuff. We got 29 gypsies in a Cadillac Stone, turn off the ringer on your cellular phone, whip the air like a rainbow trout, drag your tailpipe till you bottom out. Like, that's just an example. Really good guitar work here, but it's a fun song.
Yeah, definitely. It gets back to Wait's actually doing a little almost hip-hop-esque beatbox.
He's coming to the 2000s, right?
Yeah, with some sampling. Cool tune, even if it maybe isn't going to crack my favorites on the record, so to speak. And we're going to go now to Dead and Lovely. Again, another one that takes a step back on the tempo, and really great vocal here by Waits.
Yeah, the lyrics of the song narrate the tragic death of a naive, quote, middle-class girl who falls in love with a man of questionable moral character. Great story, great line I had to pull out. I've always been told to remember this. Don't let a fool kiss you. Never marry for love. I thought, what kind of advice is that? But there we go. It's Tom.
No, exactly, man. And then we go now to the circus. But this is no Ringley Bros right here.
I'll tell you what, this is full level Tom just telling a story of all these random weird people that you picture when you picture a traveling circus, right? He's more speaking it than singing it, right? He's just kind of telling us. And Mark Howard's on the bells and Tom's on the Chamberlain keys, which gives it that circus type atmosphere.
No, this kind of reminded me of his previous record where he has that song, What's He Building?
Oh God, that song's so fantastic.
Just again, I think speaking to what you brought up, Dad, the more speaking delivery right here. I wasn't a huge fan per se, but I did like the I wish I had whiskey and a gun, my dear. I thought that was just a really powerful closing line that again kind of showed that what might have happened once the song ended might not have been great for our poor fellow in this in this right here. But we're gonna go and hit that banjo back up as we go now to Trampled Rose. That was a highlight for me with the strong banjo performance, and again, I thought a cool production and musical atmosphere right there.
Yeah, I thought a pretty good vocal. I thought Tom was much clearer on this. He kind of vacillates between not ever really totally gruff, but pretty gruff to pretty clear. There's a big dichotomy on this album. Most of the time he sticks with a vocal style through all of it. Once again, as you said, Mark Ribot's banjo. He gave this to a girl, this Trampled Rose, and he finds it trampled. There's only 3 verses the story unfolds. He looks down the street, sees that Trampled Rose, and he wonders, like, are we over? Like, how did this happen? The gift is laying there.
And I like that symbol as well, as rose represents obviously a lot of times love, life, beauty, but when it's trampled, what is it good for, right? Yeah. What do we have? And we keep up that with some of that as we now look to the green grass, the brighter side of life.
Yeah, low key guitar on this. Tom's dead. Mm-hmm. Right. And he's singing to someone who's at his grave and he's just telling him kind of how things are. It's another example that his songwriting is just one of the best ever. Right.
No.
Right? There's just if you've never heard Waits and you're just listening to us describe these songs, you've got to understand the different things. Most writers can only write about one thing and they kind of dress it up in different ways.
Yeah,
he can go anywhere in anything.
No, definitely. And again, I think it really gets to the heart of heartbreak, so to speak, right here, as you were mentioning, Dad. Have a neat little whistling section in here, which again, even though the record clocks in, like I said, around 70 minutes or whatever, there's enough of variation, so to speak, that keeps you engaged.
And the whistling's always interested me, Trey, on any song, to put that kind of pressure on yourself. You're going to perform it live. Can you whistle thing every single? That's what I always think as a guy that can't whistle well.
No, I like that. And now we're going to Baby Gonna Leave Me. It continues kind of that lost love theme of the previous track. Tom gets a fiery vocal amidst the shakers. And again, we get some beatboxing on here. And I know I'm a broken record, but again, another example of how Tom can pull off basically any style.
Yeah, and you got it's self-explanatory, right? His girl left him. Claypool's back here. He's not on every song. He's back here on this. The bass is nice.
And then we go, Dad, to just a bit of an interlude, I'd say, so to speak. We got Clang, Boom, Steam clocking in at less than a minute.
Yeah, and it's almost a continuation from Baby Gonna Leave Me, right? Because she's driving away and she left on a train, and that alludes to the previous song. So now it's like he's gone even farther, and he's watching her. She's driving away, sees the taillights, and then she jumps on the train.
No, definitely. And we go now to the last few songs on this record. And we're going to make it rain, but maybe not in the strip club this time.
No, not in the strip club. It's the ancient ritual of the rain dance here is juxtaposed with the narrator's need for something in the wake of grave heartbreak. Imagery from Genesis, as well as Heaven and Hell, are invoked alongside the spirituality, longing poetry of Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. And the thing is, when I'm not giving you all, on tons of these songs, they were influenced by all these classic works. Yeah. I just didn't, I didn't go into that. He says on the song, hell can't be worse than the pain he's in now with her gone. So that's like the ultimate form of heartbreak. And I hate to tell you, Mr. Waits, but it is, even though it might not seem like it at the time.
No, man. I thought that this one was yet again a big one. I like the line, she took all my money and my best friend. Oh man, what a tough one.
Yeah, I thought that was, it kind of started that way.
You got the smooth guitar licks in here, right here, people. Head moving rhythm section and in impassioned Waits vocals from his vocal right there. This is one of my favorites. And then we go to probably the best song on this, or at least the most famous from this record, as we go now to Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, it's almost 7 minutes long. Mm-hmm. One of the few political songs Waits has written. He described it as an elliptical protest against the Iraq War. And that's a way Tom has a word, elliptical. So I just, in 2021, Phoebe Bridgers, she's very popular at this point, covered it. It's written from the perspective of a soldier who's away at war. It takes the loose form of a letter written home or sort of a monologue about goings on. Tom actually talked about this in Heart magazine, which I'd never heard of, but since they gave this out a year, I guess he did an interview with him because Tom does not do interviews. He said, it seems to be inspired by the Iraq War. I hate to sound cynical, but it seems to me that protest songs are like throwing peanuts at a gorilla. It's hard to believe that a song like that is going to make any difference in the course we're on. But at the same time, that Pete Seeger song about the Big Muddy became more than a song. I don't want to contribute to the rhetoric or even assume I have the ability to speak about these things on an intelligent level. I know my own limitations. I can sound like I know a lot about something for 5 minutes. Don't stay too long or I slide into idiot.
What a line.
This whole thing is just, but I also know that everybody feels like we're going 90 miles an hour down a dead end street. And we didn't make that feeling up. So for me, it's a fantastic story. By far the best written song on the album, which is saying something. The soldier's almost 21. Yeah. He doesn't believe in the war, but it doesn't matter. He's got to go. And we got all kinds of songs littered from Seeger to Dylan about this, right? He recognizes the propaganda of it all. Voice is fantastic, not gravelly at all. Sparse instrumentation. Got guitar work from Mark Ribot and Tom, because I think they wanted to set these lyrics front and center.
No, definitely. I think it does have that epic, proper closing to a great album here. I also put in my notes to add those dueling guitars from Waits and Ribot create a very beautiful melody along with an emotive Waits vocal singing about, the longings of a man away at war. Even if most of us haven't had that experience, you can empathize with it and imagine the turmoil going on internally there and those questions that are coming up into your mind. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? And Waits really does get to the heart of that. We have a line in here. Tell me, how does God choose whose prayers does he refuse? What a line.
Yeah, because he talks about in the song, both soldiers are praying.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So how do we know? How do we know how this is going to end up?
Yeah, Dad. I think this is honestly in Waits' whole catalog. Just a standout track.
I agree 100%. Yeah, I think it's one of his best tracks.
And then we finish again with just kind of a closing little tune, only a minute long, Chicka Boom, which just kind of it winds us down from...
he just repeats that line 3 times. Yeah, I don't even know why that's in there, but I'm sure Tom has a reason.
But we're going to go now, Dad, to our favorite songs. For me, I'm going Day After Tomorrow. I'm going Hoist That Rag and Make It Rain are going to round out mine.
Yeah, I got 2 real standouts on here. Send to My Father and Day After Tomorrow. Fantastic. Now we're going to get to our overall score. Look, if you like Waits, you're going to like this album. We say this on, if you don't like Waits, you're probably not going to like this album, and you need to just listen to more Waits until you finally get it, right? But for me, I mean, it's these older albums of his, everything is just on point. Not that the younger ones, they weren't, but he's much more refined, I think, in his purpose of putting these together. It might help that he's writing with Kathleen, and so there's 2 people kind of reining him down. So I'm going to be at an 8.0 on this album.
Well, man, I'm exactly with you there, Dad. I'm at a solid 8 out of 10 right here. Waits continues the really impressive 21st century output right here. He's got 2 more albums that came out after this. As we sit here today, almost in 2024, it's been a long time. Been about a decade or a little over, I think. Since his last record came out. I don't know if we'll ever get another one. He's doing, I know, a lot of acting these days.
And he's a really private guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's not going to tell us.
But all that to say, man, I mean, I think it again highlights that, honestly, I think Waits is one of the best catalogs ever in music.
I agree,
with
100%.
The quality from the start
100%.
of closing time to, as we're here, into the 21st century, man.
So we've done all 16 of these albums, Trey, and there's not a bad album.
No.
There's not a bad album. There seriously isn't.
How many artists can you say that about who have the, this much?
Even a Dylan and Neil Young, like the Stones, like there's no bad album.
Yeah, so man, this has been a great journey. Be sure to share some love to our friend John for requesting this one for review today. And as my dad noted, check out the Tom Waits playlist, man. From the first one we did, we went a little out of order because we started with Rain Dogs and then, kind of caught up from there. But check that out. Let us know what you think of Real Gone as well. What are your favorites? What is your overall score? How do you rate it? But I guess that'll wrap it up.
That's it.
From here today. So until next time, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Happy listening, and we will see you.